gives me great pleasure knowing that you choose to listen to this episode on the John Gardina Classroom. My mission is to serve the Lord by creating content that will help you in your journey of life. If you want one-on-one coaching or would like to be part of my 40 Days of Deliverance program, please visit my website at johngardina.com. Also, if you would like to give a financial gift to help the show grow or provide the funds for the editing process and publishing of the show, it would truly be appreciated. Lastly, God has given me a vision to have a place in the woods with cabins to enjoy fellowship, healing, along with outdoor activities with others. If you have land and feel compelled by the Lord to donate some to make this vision a reality, please email me. I will have all the information available in the show notes. Thank you and enjoy this episode. Welcome to the John Gardina Classroom. I have a fun, energetic guest today, Phil Januszewski. He's a tattooed-covered Netflix baking show flopping, high-energy chemistry physics teacher. He's a professional speaker that is on a mission to create and spread happiness through education, motivation, and entertainment. Phil is a nationally known dynamic speaker for 10 plus years that empowers others to overcome and avoid burnout by intentionally creating a more flourishing life through learning on their signature strengths. When Phil is not teaching or speaking, he enjoys everyday adventures with his wife, his 2 children, or pursuing his personal passions of physical fitness, cooking, and baking new recipes, and also reading about self-improvement and positive psychology. If you ever met Phil, be prepared for a great deal of positive energy and enthusiasm. So his mission, again, everyone, in life is to help others, students, teachers, and family members by creating more happiness in their lives in order for them to flourish. So without further ado, Mr. Phil Januszewski, welcome, my man, to the John Gardina Classroom.
Thanks, John. Super excited to be here, man. Appreciate the opportunity and your energy.
Yeah, dude. I mean, so I just want to get started. I want everyone to know in the game of social media, and also we're both teachers. There's the big thing that we all need to realize in life is networking. So a couple of weeks ago, it's almost been like 3 years now with Jeff Forrester. He connected Phil and I together through a DM through Instagram. And we just went back and forth, and I'm like, I need to have him on the show because of how much good he's doing in this world. And I'm just so excited to, bring him on to share his story. So Phil, my first question to you, I'm going to get right off the rip. We're going to go back in the day here. All right.
Okay.
Just help the audience get a feel for really your childhood and upbringing. Just really, I was really curious. Yeah. Have you always like this? You just always a positive guy, good life brought up? I mean, I'm just ready to learn more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been super lucky and blessed. I grew up in the southwest suburbs of Chicago my whole life and grew up in a nice home, had 2 loving parents, awesome sister, enjoyed school, had a great time with my family, always supported. They allowed me to be myself and pursue my own passions and interests. And because of those support systems, I grew up in being a Boy Scout. I grew up in a lot of sports, helping in community activities and events. And from there, I just slowly started to find my own way. And I always had a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and an abnormally large amount of confidence for just being a regular everyday guy. But from there, I just always seemed to lean into who I was and be okay with it. And from there, it just seemed to, always have an energy, bringing it everywhere I go. So was really lucky to have a lot of guidance in high school. Thought I wanted to go to culinary school. I'm really big into cooking and baking and creating. After a bunch of jobs in the cooking and culinary world, realized it wasn't a career for me. So luckily for me, I had an awesome high school chemistry teacher my junior year. I was about 17 years old. When talked to him, his name was Mr. B, told him I'm in big trouble. Thought my whole life I was going to be a classically trained chef. Realized that this is not the career for me in any way, shape, or form. And I have no idea. Now my whole plan for what I was going to do next seems to be crumbling down. So lucky for me, we had a really good relationship. He was one of those teachers that got to know his students just for who they were. He was super approachable. He was a person that, let you know about his everyday ordinary life. You just felt like a connection with him. So as I was talking to him, he knew me well, and he said, "You seem to have a lot of school spirit and energy. You seem to like high school." And I said, "Absolutely. I love it here. I love coming every day." And he said, "You seem to like science. You're doing really well with chemistry. You seem naturally curious." And I said, "Yeah, I really do. I really enjoy all my science classes." And he says, maybe that's it then. Maybe you should be in high school the rest of your life. Maybe you should be a science high school teacher and be part of this environment. And I thought that was the best idea I've ever heard. It just instantly snapped. It made sense. Everything I've been doing through little things in the community leadership, everything seemed to all form in this one epicenter, and it all seemed to relate to education. So immediately went to my guidance counselor, told her what I was thinking, fully supported again, talked to my parents, fully supported. From there, it was just a matter of, all right, what's the next step? How do I become an educator? From there, just went to school, 3.5 years, got my degree in chemistry with a teaching certificate, student taught, was lucky enough to student teach in a really great environment, a couple job openings. They hired me on the spot. I was super lucky at 22 years old, and 18 years later, brother, John, I'm right here, man, teaching chem and physics. It's a wild ride in a really awesome way.
Yeah, it's awesome from an educator to educator. We've both been teaching the same amount of years.
Yeah.
My path is extremely different. I just became a history major during college and then couldn't find a job in that profession. So then went back to school to be a special ed teacher, and it was the way it was meant to be. So, but for you, doing your passion and finding your talents, knowing what they were, and then letting Mr. B, right? Mr. B guide you into like he knew, and you build that relationship. So let's talk about that subject because it's so important in life for fulfillment is that relationships. Talk a little bit more about Mr. B's impact and then how you relate that relationship you had in high school and how you use it today with your students.
Yeah, I think he was a true model of putting the human first into everything. It was his first year teaching, and he wasn't a super young teacher. So he did other things before teaching, kind of like you, John, where a different path and then ended up right where he needed to be. So he was very vocal about that and open that this wasn't the first, set of jobs and careers that he's done, but he really felt called and interested in this and was naturally curious and was excited and open that this is my first year and I'm looking forward to learning alongside of you in how this teaching thing works too. And I really thought it was like disarming, and just the walls were down. Like, hey, this is me. I'm going to do my absolute best. And every day you could just tell he was sincerely there for us. He wanted us to succeed. He wanted to hold us accountable in the best way possible. And strangely enough, I remember it was my first hour class that year. And in that class of 26, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us became chemistry majors because of him. One is in the pharmaceutical sales, 2 are in the education system, and I don't remember where the other one ended up going, but 5 of us, that's a pretty impressive track record for a class of 26 that we all just seem to be totally in tune with it. So again, I just think it spoke volumes of his relationship with us. And we would learn, but we would also just chat about life, things he would find interesting in the news and every day. He'd be willing to hear about us. I remember he heard I was in a garage punk band, John, and I was drumming, and we were just saving up money for $15 an hour to like cut a CD. And I was telling him about how we were, in the recording studio and trying to get it mixed in that. And he's like, well, as soon as that CD comes out, you got to let me know. I got to buy it. So I remember that he bought our CD. He listened to it. The next day he came back, he listened to the whole album. He had comments. it was just his actions and his words. They were always in sync and they were genuine, human first. He cared about us. He wanted to know us as humans. And because of that, I think we really bought into the class. And even when, and John, you know this, sometimes in class, there's things that aren't the most exciting. But when you have that human connection, I feel like students, and I was exactly like that, willing to go along the ride with you. You know, all right, if this is what we're doing, I'm in because of you. So
Yeah,
it was
no,
a really great.
that's awesome. So, I've been blessed the same way that you have to have mentors in high school, coaches and teachers as well, who influence you in a way that you just like, man, I want to have my life to be like yours, not to be
Mm,
the same exact cut
right.
from the same cloth, but just the way your personality and passion is for what you do. And the word you said that I love so much is the word care. And for me, and you could use this, I love this. I created it for the acronym care. You had that teacher who was committed to the students. You felt
Mm,
that the attitude was right. It was always probably positive, engaging.
yeah.
They were always respectful to you and everyone in the room, and they always gave forth effort. So then, if you truly care about somebody, and I know Mr. B did, I know you
Mm,
care about your students, I know you care about your family. It just resonates. And you have this. And my good friend who I run with, who's my mentor for running, he always says like when you're around someone with that positive energy and attitude, they're like a they're like the sun when it's bright out. It just gives you energy. So Phil, I just am so excited to learn so much more about you and how much you already are, but offering this world, your community, your family, the country, of just your passion for positivity and the role model of character and high influence. So the next question I have for you is to get to know you a little bit more is, you know, you talked briefly about the roots of your family life, growing up
mm,
in that we call it the well-soiled um, environment, right? So then talk a little bit about your wife and your children and how important that
mm.
is in your life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be proud to. So I've been proudly married for 15 years to my wife, who I met in college. And meeting her, it was funny. We weren't like this instant fireworks and the world stopped. We casually met and realized that we just liked hanging out and getting along. And from there, our relationship grew pretty quick. And I realized, I think after a couple months, like I don't think I could live without her. So we are exact opposites, very yin and yang, 100%. And everything I am not, she is all
Mhm.
about, and it's a beautiful thing. We work extremely well together. She's my best friend, partner in crime for everything. So she's not a teacher as well, which is also a huge balance. It's not like we both come home with the same point of view. She's in the business world. So we have very different careers, very different jobs, and very different points of view. Because of that, I think it makes us a stronger couple. And from there, I think it allows us to be a more encompassing mother and father combo for our children. So I have an 11-year-old son, I have an 8-year-old daughter, and we are having a blast with our family adventures together, doing our absolute best to prepare them to be caring, kind, compassionate individuals, but that are also strong enough to stand up for what they believe in. And John, as you know, it's like this
Yeah.
ultimate balancing act we want our children to be in the end. But I think that we try to lead by our actions ourselves. We try to be kind to everybody, be open minded, to stand up for things that are unjust. And hopefully, from that, we are helping them become those individuals that can continue to plant positive seeds when we're long gone.
Yeah. I was just thinking about I literally I'm so glad you said that because for some reason I don't do this all the time, but I kissed my son goodnight and I said to him, I want you to be a better father than me. I want you to be, a better, husband than me one day. And it's all about the legacy of passing that love and character and care for your children on to the next generation. And
Mm,
we have an opportunity each day to not only do that to our children, but to those in our school as well. And the one thing that you do so well, and I love, is that you are who you are. I love that about you. You don't have to change when you go to different environments. You Phil are wherever you go, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get high octane energy and positivity. And another thing too is you're a risk taker. So I want to ask you this question. So when you were playing around the idea to be on the Netflix cake show, talk a little bit about that with and how that kind of the conversation went between you and was it your children or your son? Go ahead and talk about that. It's important.
Yeah, absolutely. We were in lockdown during COVID, and we got into this show called Nailed It, which is an amateur baking show where you're supposed to take an 8-hour professional cake, John, and you get
Yeah.
2 hours to make it, and you're going to butcher it. It's supposed to turn out bad. It's a comedy show, but my kids were watching it, and I really enjoy growing, learning, trying new skills. And I recently got into cake decorating during the lockdown, and they were saying, "You're so good at this. You should try out." And I remember actually putting it down, like brushing it away, and saying, "Guys, there's probably thousands of people who try out for that. It wouldn't even be worth trying out." And then my son called me on something I often tell them both, that you should take healthy risks. You should put yourself out there. You never know what could happen. And he threw my own advice right back at me and said, "You're always saying take healthy risks. You should do it. What's the worst that could happen?" And I said, "Truth. Good call. Good call." So on a day they actually ended up getting to go back to school, I had one day left before my winter break was done. I spent the day filming, getting it ready, and applied, and then didn't hear anything for about a year. And I told the kids, "Hey, I tried. Here it is. I put it out there, and sometimes nothing happens, and that's okay." So I thought, well, that was a good lesson for them. And then about 10 months to a year later, I got a random email that said, "Hey, would you be willing to have a quick call?" And then a call went into another interview, and all of a sudden found myself out in LA for a day and just filming a crazy amount of stuff and on a set. It was an incredibly fun experience. And John, I've learned, especially during COVID, I'm an extrovert, but I had no idea how extroverted I was until that world changed. And just being with people, cameras, talking, the constant stimulation. I mean, that was a 14-hour day, and I could have done 24 hours straight. I just feed off that kind of energy. So it was a really cool learning experience for myself. The cool part was too, I tried super hard to win, and I didn't win. You could have won 10 grand, John, which would have been pretty nice, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But I ended up not losing, failed, and I think I'm more glad that I did. It showed my kids that no matter how hard you try, you put it all out there. I didn't hold anything back. And as you said so kindly, I am my authentic self. I was loud and boisterous on the show, just having fun, supporting each other. And even then, it's like, the good guy doesn't win or whatever. It didn't matter. In the end, my cake wasn't the best, no matter how hard I tried. And I think that was actually a really good lesson for them to see. And then I was still proud that I had that opportunity. I put myself out there, and it was still a great time, even though, in the end, I didn't get the trophy.
No, it's what though. I had my buddy who actually one of my close friends or my dad is with. He's a Hollywood producer, and I had him on my podcast, and he said, really the journey is the destination. So if you look at it like this in life, that episode that you had, that opportunity you had to make that cake on live television, Netflix, huge. You had a huge opportunity, right? And it wasn't about the result. And I've learned this in my life recently. It's not the result, it's the journey. So the journey that you went there, the journey of being present in the moment, of actually amplifying your character and actually solidifying your character of who you are. And like you said, in the ultra world of running, where I'm from, like you're the ultra actor. And I don't mean that negative. I mean it like that's right. Who you are. Like you have that energy so much that when you're in front of those cameras, it's that becomes your ball of energy even more to heat you up, to just be electrified for the audience, for all the right reasons though. And nobody doesn't not like to be around people with passion. There's so many dull teachers. There's so many dull individuals, and I'm not trying to throw mud on anybody, but there's a lot of dull people who don't like going to work every day. We work with them every day. I'm going to be honest. Let's be real. But
Yep.
when I watch you, and I wish I was in your classroom, and I'm sure those kids in there, they're loving, you know, being in your presence. So tell me, the one thing I'd like to know from that experience when you did the cake was, how much did that experience really drive home the point for you that, God's given you this talent and you're going to go to the next level with it? And I'm not talking about just making cakes, but really expanding upon who you are. I'd love to learn more about that.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I don't know one if I ever paused and fully reflected on, but I appreciate that question. I think after doing that, I realized that if that opportunity ever came again, would I jump on something to have more fun and that experience and that thrill of not knowing what was going to happen next in the name of entertaining people and bringing happiness to them? I think it really made me realize how much I enjoy, even if I'm the one who ends up being the fool or the loser. If it lifts up other people's spirits, it's something I think I'm willing to sign up for and I'm really all about. And I think that's why I ended up after that experience. I started kind of changing, like, what is my official mission and mantra,
Mm-hmm.
me personally, right? People get into the personal brand and everything like that. But I was thinking, like, what really is my purpose on this planet? Because I'm not just a teacher, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a brother, I'm a neighbor, I'm a speaker. So what is my overall mission? And I really think it's what I finally figured out in like one sentence. I think I want to create and share happiness for others in a way that motivates, educates, and entertains. So if there's a way I can help others feel like they're flourishing more, feeling like they're able to make intentional choices to be happier or healthier, then I'm all about it. And I think that's what really fuels me. And that's pretty much my why. So I get that fuel and why from educating my students and helping empower them as not only an educator in science, but like as a life coach, which I know you too, John. That's
Mm-hmm.
again what I think drew us to each other. It's on our media. It's clear. We're here to help people. It's not just about a subject, but it's about developing a human in a way that they can see their potential and they can be confident enough to take action in their life to make their lives happier and healthier. So I think that fills me up. Being a professional speaker, I have a speaking company with my best bud, Matt Makovich, and we get to go across the country talking about building self-confidence in others. We think that is a foundational thing that allows people to open their mind to new opportunities, to be willing and confident enough to take care of themselves, to jump on opportunities. So building that happiness is part of my mantra and mission. When I got the random opportunity to be on TV, that filled me up because I felt like if people are laughing and enjoying, I'm helping them develop some further happiness in their life too. So I think everything I do somehow revolves around humans and somehow energizing or making them a little bit happier.
Yeah. And I think, you know what? And I love that because it's the same, very similar mission that I'm on this earth for as
I would
well.
agree.
I think if if we had less negative Nancy's and more positive Teds, the world would be a lot better place. Looking at the glass that's half full, not half empty. But
Yep.
the question I really have is, and you did talk about this a little bit, was you said you were always energetic growing up. You kind of like that. You always had a pep in your step.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time that during your probably teaching career where you probably would see it the most? Was there an episode? I don't want to use that word episode, but was there an
Sure.
experience between maybe you and a student that you're like, man, this is really my calling besides being a science teacher? What I
Mm,
mean, I could elaborate on that, but I'm just saying, like, a student who maybe said they were going to kill themselves, or maybe a student depressed or family life issues.
sure.
And I know this is hard to answer just off the cuff, but if you have
Right.
one that maybe resonated with you, I think it would help our listeners, because I have a lot of students that listen to this podcast, And maybe that story that you'll tell right now with that one student, or a scenario that you had, they could really relate to, and maybe gravitate to the words you're going to say to help them.
Yeah, John, asking that question, uh, a flood of ideas and emotions come to mind when you say that. And I think one of the greatest things that's happened that is positive about social media is the fact that I'm easy to find and get a hold of. And over the years now that, John, we've been in this for 18 years, this game, all of a sudden, I just get these random messages occasionally, a
Mm-hmm.
DM from a student I had years ago, a message on LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
that a student that was so great, remembered them well, so sweet, and I had absolutely no idea what kind of impact I had on them. And I don't expect a 17-year-old to be able to articulate that, or to even fully understand, or even know or appreciate that. And I know we don't do that to get that type of praise,
Mm-hmm.
John, but as the years have gone by and slowly, occasionally a student messages you back, it really reminds you why we do what we do. And I had a student reach out to me that we actually left on pretty rough terms. She was graduating, and about a week before, we had a little, just a little argument that it wasn't going well. And then she ended up being absent. And, anyways, after knowing her, and she was a really cool student, we just kind of left on a sour note. And it wasn't anything earth shattering, but I remember feeling like, man, that stinks, to leave that last week and she graduated. We had such a good year, and we just had a big difference of opinion on something. And every once in a while, I would think about her. And about 3 years ago, I kid you not, she randomly reached out, DM'd me, and just said, I just wanted to let you know that you and a few other teachers were such an important part of my life that I'm not even sure if I would be here right now and alive if it weren't for you guys. And she said, you specifically, your just positive energy, regardless of how we were or treated you. She says, really, really helped me through a lot of days where I was really at the bottom, and you helped pull me up out of that. So, just hearing things like that you, over the years, I'm worried, man, I really hope she didn't hate me after that, and then to hear something so different than the story our mind told us, it really just reminds you why we do what we do. And again, John, it's so much more than just a subject. And I think when we know that, and that's our calling, that type of stuff is the ultimate fuel. So if any of your students or former students are hearing this, I would strongly encourage them to just simply drop an email. Now, that doesn't have to be a life-changing story, but just simply, I really valued this one specific thing you told me one time, or the way you did this in class. I remember I had a former student of mine tell me that she was partying a little bit too much. And I used to say, I say every day when my students leave, your body's your temple, take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother used to tell me that all the time. And she she said one time at a party, Mr. J would say, take care, your body's your temple, guys. Maybe we better clean this up a little bit, And she was laughing, saying, she's like, who have I become? I'm starting to be a teacher to my friends, So, but stuff like that, that they remember that, I don't know, it really is refueling, especially when sometimes we're not sure, like, are we making the difference we're hoping? And again, you can't give love expecting that same person to give you love right back. That's impossible and not a healthy thing to approach love like. But we give love knowing that eventually love will come back to us in some certain way. So I love that. I think Jay Shetty
Yeah, Jay. Yeah.
was talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that hit home, especially for teachers. We're pouring love every day. And if I'm sitting there hoping or expecting them to just give that back to me in a 16-year-old mindset where everything else is going on, I think that's irrational of me. But I do know that love eventually comes back to us in a good way. People call it all different things, karma, whatever you want to call it. I think it comes back around to us. And it feels good to be a love dealer, Keep pushing it out, John.
I like that. A love dealer. It's so funny because just I've been blessed the same way you have of looking at life as a teacher in a different perspective. I don't hang around the teacher's lounge, and the reason why I don't is because most of it's toxic talk. And
Mm.
the one thing that I've learned, and I hear, and I don't know, maybe you hear this in your school too, and I'm sure it's every school, is man, these kids are so much different, and you know, they just don't
Yeah.
know how to learn, or they don't work as hard, and they're lazy, and all this stuff. And then I always think to myself, like, well, let me ask you a question. Like, you have the opportunity to mold that student every single day more per hour per day than probably their parents.
Right.
So we have a greater responsibility. I think I take it as a higher responsibility than it was maybe 50 years ago, because we're not only are we teachers and life coaches and counselors, and mentors, we've become individuals who wear many hats. And I take that
Yeah.
as a positive, and not like, oh, I have more responsibilities to do, because the impact, like you said, is we have an opportunity every day to give and love and to show care and concern and listen. That's the one thing too. And I'll ask you that question, is how important it is to just listen to students, because they feel like they're
Mm.
not being heard at home. I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, I think that I've always maybe I was lucky at the way I communicate and my personality. I felt that I've always been a very non-guarded, vulnerable person that is happy. I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy learning from others. So I think my classroom has always been that open energy, that if a student has something to share, if they want to talk to me, I think within a few days of meeting me, they know I'm here for them. There's no judgment. We're here to grow and learn, whether that's in chemistry, whether that's in physics, whether that's in life. We're here to learn and grow, and that whatever you need, I'll at least hear. And if I can't help you, I'm going to find someone that can hopefully support you. So I agree with you. We wear a lot of hats, and I'm completely comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, like you said, because of that, we have an opportunity for even more impact, which, if you twist that perspective, is really powerful and exciting. We can have that much impact on a human. It's also can be, scary, right? We don't want to impact them in a negative way. But I do believe that when you give a student the opportunity to be heard, to explain themselves, and to always approach a situation as curious as opposed to judgmental, I think the environment is always going to be a lot more positive. And even when I approach a student as being curious and not antagonistic,
Mm-hmm.
even when they're wrong or they're making a really poor decision, I think they are more willing to discuss and also be honest with you and themselves that, yeah, this wasn't the best decision, for me. But because of that, they may be willing to learn from it more so than just simply dig their feet in to try to win in an argument.
Yeah.
So it is very rare that I get to that point where I feel like it's a angry argument. And if it is, I'll always step back and think, man, I really wish I could have controlled my emotions
Yes.
better than that, that I'm better than that. But I do think listening to students is so valuable, important. And again, when they're heard, they trust you more.
Mm-hmm.
It's an investment.
Mm-hmm.
They're willing to follow you where you want to go because they know you value them and respect them, and you're there for them.
Yeah, the one thing I'm going to offer you, because I had the opportunity, and actually it all stemmed from our connection with Jeff Forrester, was
Mm.
Jeff Forrester, when I heard him for the first time on a podcast, is how I reached out to him, DM'd him through Instagram, because he wrote his book, Unleash Potential, in 2 months. So then I'm like, I got to talk to this guy. What secret sauce does he have? Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've been trying to write a book for almost 10 years. And after connecting with Jeff and finding some secrets of consistency and intentionality, I wrote my first book, Freedom to Ascend. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because that book is meant for that ongoing dialogue for students and for
Mm.
adults. So for you, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I think maybe part of your mission would be to write a book from your ingredients of life that you have already experienced, and all the things that you've already talked about, and so much more that you have to offer to give people hope. And I think that's really what it is. I think we're in a critical time in our society, especially at schools, because the identity of individuals is so skewed. And I'm not talking about gender. I'm just talking about in general. I'm talking about the identity of individuals has gone just in a different direction, and there's less clarity. And I think a lot of that has to do with the love and support that I would originally start from the roots of the family. And for you, and like I said, both of us as individuals who are mentors, who are teachers, you know, we have opportunities to mold them. And I like that word because it goes into the same thing like cooking and ingredients. You're like almost like you're doing pottery with these individual students each day.
Mm-hmm.
So, Phil, what legacy would you like to leave before you leave this earth? And I know that might be a deep question. You could go different venues with that, but me personally, I think I don't know how you would like to write. You are definitely, you have a lot of stories and passions and great messages that you have to write a book on how to just live that life of just passion with your hair on fire. I'm interested in what you think about that. If that's something you would think about.
Writing a book and leaving a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely not something that has been on my high list, but maybe you just planted that seed, John. Maybe I should start thinking about that more, man.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying you have to write a book because you're electric with your speaking. And I think the question I'm trying to get to is like at the end of your years teaching, what does Phil's life look like, and how would you know you lived a legacy life? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think I would judge my legacy based off of the amount of lives I just could have positively impacted. And I think that's really simple to say and vague, but I think that is what I'm put on this earth to do. I'm here to energize and help people know that they are loved and accepted, coming at me with whatever they have. I'm here to try to make the best of everything, to try to empower and inspire others. So I hope that just my actions inspire some people to do the same, to be kind, to approach the human side first, and to take priority in their life, to set good intentions, to try to live as happy of a life as they can so that I think the best part of being happy and energized is that you can help others do the same. So I'm hoping that I'm starting a pay it forward process that hopefully spirals out, the butterfly effect, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I just hope I've really created a lot of positive ripples that turn to huge waves in the end that have affected and impacted people in positive ways that I'll never meet and never know.
Yeah, no, it's beautifully said. And you said it in a way of such humility. You really do. And you may not think that, but I know you have a heart of gold. You have a passion that's so high. I call it the octane. You get to that fuel station, you're like, which gas do I want? I want the high octane. So every time I feel like I'm around you, or in your classroom or in your house or in your speaking engagements, is that I know what I'm going to get with you. And it's about passion, love, and giving and serving. And I just love your message. So much. So I'm going to land this plane here. I would like to go right around 40 minutes. And I would just want to, I want any last messages before I reach out for how people get a hold of you?
No, I really appreciate and totally humbled by the opportunity to share a little of the story, but also have this great conversation. I find this so energizing to meet and learn from others. And hopefully when people hear this, they think of that as well. You reached out to someone you heard on a podcast, and from there became an acquaintance and then a friend and someone that makes further connections to people with similar passions, mantras, missions, whatever you want to call it. So I do hope that people appreciate and learn from others, and from there, take that one little extra step, that one little risk, let people know you enjoyed it, appreciated it. And from there, you never know what that could create. I think I absolutely love to meet people and learn from them. I'm so curious. And whether I have the similar beliefs or complete opposite, I just think humans are fascinating, beautiful. And the more I can get of it, I think the more I'm filled up. So thanks for the opportunity. I've truly enjoyed just these last few weeks getting to know you via social media, and then for the opportunity to speak. It's been a really great time.
Yeah, Phil. I mean, I'm just again, I'm so honored that you came on. I'm blessed that we got connected through Jeff. He's the networking. That's it. He's the networking guru. That's just what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He's so good at it. And I think the message too for everyone is like, don't be afraid to take that risk to send that message to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
whether to make a connection or to reach out to somebody to learn from them. Because what's the worst thing they could say? No, or
Right.
they just don't answer back. But if you don't take that step forward, you never know how the trajectory of your life path could go just by taking small calculated risks. So the one thing I've learned from you, Phil, is honestly you just have a strong foundational base of the authenticity of character of who you are. Be proud of who you are, and always act in an honor of love. And when you do that and you serve, you are actually being fulfilled. Your cup is overflowing, and you're doing something that you truly have a passion for. And it's just more than teaching chemistry. It's teaching life lessons of how to live the best life that you can. And there's no one better. I'm going to be honest, Phil. There's no one better that I have met than you as a teacher who does that so well. So I'm so thankful that we've connected in life, my man. So tell
Thank
everybody.
you, man.
No, you're welcome. Thank you so much for being on, and tell everyone how they can get a hold of you. And I'll put everything in the show notes too. The best way to get a hold of you.
Thank you, John. I am obnoxiously everywhere. If you just search my name, Phil Januszewski, on Google, I'll pop up. But I'm on Instagram and Twitter for social media. My handle's just my name, Phil Januszewski. I'm a speaker. I co-speak with my best bud, and we talk about self-confidence. And then I also individually, personally speak with educators, avoiding burnout through leaning into
That's
our
great.
passions and purpose, so that we live happier, healthier, more flourishing lives, and in the end, make more impact. So philjanuszewski.com, mppresentations.com. But again, just Google my name. I'll be around, and I would love to hear from people just to learn, meet, and collaborate.
No, it's so good, man. I wish there was more teachers like you out there like this, and not everyone has to be, super energetic every day, but just a way of a representation of who you are. It's a beautiful sight to see. And I tell you what, if I was in your school, I would love to be in your classroom every day, just because of the respect that you'd have for me as a student, and the way that you just pursue your passion in such a gentle but energetic way. So, hey, listen, I look forward, Phil, to all the great things you're going to do in life for your community, your school, and for this nation and this world. I look forward to seeing you write that book one day. Plant that seed today. Jeff Forrester and I can help you out, because
Love it.
we love to see good people just do great things and continue that legacy, just to have it in book form, audio form. And lastly, it's just keep being a blessing, man. You're just a talented individual who just pours it out each day, and just keep going all the way to the finish line, man. So again, Phil, appreciate you being on. And everyone, this class is dismissed.